For me, I had to grow and learn that schooling was not just when you were sitting at the table. And I feel like Catholic Heritage Curricula really helped me understand what it really means to teach our children and how to use all aspects of life at home.
Angie, thanks so much for joining us today. Can you take a minute and tell us about your homeschooling journey so far?
Sure. My name is Angie and my husband is Brad. And we were both public schoolers and considered homeschooling when our oldest, was eligible for kindergarten. And we had another little one, and I was pregnant, and we lived in the country. And so driving to town to get a kid to half a day of kindergarten and then home was really intimidating. And so my husband suggested that we consider homeschooling. And I was scared of it. And he said, well, let's just take it 1 year at a time. Why don't you just try kindergarten? And I thought, okay, I can probably do that, I think. I'm not a teacher. I'm a licensed social worker, and I was home with our kids. And so I said, okay, we'll try it for a year and see how it goes. And our oldest that we started homeschooling as a kindergartner will be a senior this year. We have 5 kids, and they're all homeschooled. And our youngest will be starting first grade this fall. So we have a good range, and I've learned a lot. I had to really change my ideas about school and what homeschool would be like. And it's been a good process for us. I've learned a lot over the years.
Okay, so what originally drew you to CHC as a curriculum?
Well, we knew that we wanted something very Catholic, that faith aspect was super important to us. I did not know where to start, right? When I first started homeschooling, I guess I thought that homeschoolers just knew it all and they made it all up, that they were just experts in every field. In order to homeschool, you had to just know everything. So that was scary. I started talking to real people who homeschooled, and they helped me understand that choosing a good curriculum makes all the difference. A family we knew had used Catholic Heritage, and she said, this is the curriculum for you. And when I started looking into it, I knew she was right, because we had looked at other curriculum. And Catholic Heritage Curriculum was such a good fit for our family, very flexible. And for me, being new to homeschooling, I needed something that was not intimidating, just really comprehensive, so I could just pick it up and use it. And it was all of that.
How would you describe your experience using CHC from a parent's perspective?
CHC has been so good for us because we had 4 kids really close in age. So it was very busy, right? My first 3 were really close together, and then we had a little break and then had fourths. We had kids of all different ages, and usually babies at the same time. And so I needed something that covered all the bases, but did not waste time. I needed to be really efficient, and it was. The more we used Catholic Heritage Curriculum, the more I liked it. It just worked really well into our life. For me, I had to grow and learn that schooling was not just when you were sitting at the table. And I feel like Catholic Heritage Curricula really helped me understand what it really means to teach our children and how to use all aspects of life at home. And of course, with the books, with the literature, with the workbooks, that it all comes together. And so the curriculum was really good for us. I really liked Catholic Heritage Curriculum where they send you the planner, do this for math, and you do this for the history, and you do this for the science. And in the beginning, I really needed that, especially when the kids were little. It was organized and set up, and I followed it exactly as it was. And as we went along, I just made small changes. Maybe this kid wasn't ready for that level, and we did a different level. And feeling empowered to use different levels based on where your child is at. So don't be afraid to make those decisions. You know your kids best, and so you can decide, which level is right. Just because this is the normal level 3, if your child needs the level 2, then do that. That's okay. Which is why Catholic Heritage was great, because I needed something that I felt like I could trust and just take it exactly as it was, especially in the younger years. And then as we got older, I tailored it to the child, and that worked great for us.
How would you say CHC's difficulty and teaching style change from preschool all the way through middle school and even high school?
We found that Catholic Heritage Curriculum offered a good range. I don't know that I ever felt like it was too light when they were little. I did a lot of research on what schooling should look like, what the research said schooling should look like when kids were little. And I believed the things that I read about how important play was, how important it was to be outside. Um, I definitely feel like handwriting and reading and basic math skills are very important, but I think that when the kids are little, the other things, the play and the outdoors are equally important. I liked I liked the setup of Catholic Heritage where we did the bookwork, but there was time. And it's perfect for having multiple kids. Running a household with multiple kids close in age, this was definitely the curriculum for us. And like I said, I really feel like the outdoors time, the play time, those should not be discounted. Those are important. And so I liked that that all worked together. We could cover the subjects and have that other time to grow in those other ways. My idea of what school should look like was really formed by my experience in the public school. So school was sitting at the desk, being in the schoolroom. That's what school was. When you look at schooling that way, then life experiences don't count. And that's not true. Life experiences are so important. And probably, we learn the most from those real hands-on experiences. And so once I wrapped my mind around that, then it looked different to me. And so I never felt like it was too light. I felt like our days were really full of lots of great things, and that with Catholic Heritage, we weren't wasting time. We did the important stuff, but we weren't overdoing, especially when the kids are little. So it's been a good fit for us. And as we moved into middle school, the subjects, they certainly were challenging enough for our kids. The history was great, very solid, very Catholic. I loved it. I'm sure that I learned so much, from going through this curriculum with my kids. I would say that the history and the science were challenging for us. The literature was great. I love the literature programs, and I could talk more about that. But and the literature was really flexible. We could pick and choose based on where each kid was at. But I definitely felt like each subject area could be utilized either in a more challenging manner for my kids who are ready for it, or we could back off a little bit and just really be at the child's level. Every kid is different. And so with our 5 kids, I don't know. I would say that I haven't done anything exactly the same with any kid. We use the same curriculum, but we use it differently.
In high school, CHC offers a program called High School of Your Dreams, which allows the parents to tailor the high school program to match the possible career goals of their child. But we know this isn't for everyone. What path did you choose for your children when they reached high school?
I was scared of homeschooling high school. I was afraid I couldn't do it, especially, some of the subjects like math and science that were harder for me personally. I just was scared of how it would go, how it would look. We went through the high school of your dreams with when we went through it with our first child, it was great. It really changed my perspective on what high school would even look like. Going through that program helped us identify each child's strengths and think more about what general direction their future is. And so our 3 that are in high school, we have a pretty good idea of which ones are headed towards a 4-year college, which ones are headed towards a tech school. They kind of know. And going through high school of your dreams felt like really narrowed things down. When I was in high school, I took some classes that were hard and they look great on my resume or whatever, but they were really hard for me and they weren't even really beneficial. And so when you use high school of our dreams, we think more long term about where that child is headed and which classes will actually benefit them, and which life experiences will benefit them. And we're not wasting time on things that they're not going to be helpful and making them miserable and making them think that they're not smart, maybe because they're in a class that's too hard or that's not in their field. It's sort of like when you're in college and you're getting into your classes that are really in your major and you love them because it's your passion. You can do that with kids in high school instead of a kind of a cookie cutter education where everybody takes the same classes, whether they like them or not, whether they need them or not. And tailoring the kids' high school experience to the child has made a really big difference for us. For new homeschool parents, I would encourage them to talk to people they trust, Talk to people who have been homeschooling. If you can, find somebody who has homeschooled through high school. That is what helped me the most, to find people that I could get to know and see how their kids turned out. Ask them questions. When I was scared I could not do a transcript, to have somebody who said, yep, you can do this. These are the tools that are out there for you to create a transcript for your child. Our oldest just like last week was accepted into the first college of her choice. And we're all thrilled. And they accepted our transcript. And in fact, they offered her a scholarship. And so things are looking really good for us. But, if you would have asked me 4 years ago, I would have told you I was terrified of doing high school. And so talk to people who have actually done it, because the unknown is always scary. And so, hearing from people that you know, or get to know people, right? Homeschool co-ops are really good. Seek them out. Find Facebook groups for homeschoolers and ask those questions. That makes a huge difference. And Catholic Heritage Curriculum was good. They have a battle planner that's a blank planner. All our high school kids use that. And then you get to write in, so in high school, you choose your own curriculum, you find your own curriculum, which was scary for me in the beginning. And now we're settling into a good routine, and it's been perfect for us. And that battle planner has worked great. The kids love it. It has these encouraging quotes at the top. It's super versatile. It helps us to record, right? But with high school, you need good records. And so then you keep good record, and that battle planner works out really well. That way, when I'm going, what did we do back on this day or whatever, it's all there. And so that's what I tell the kids, like, write it all down. So the battle planner has been great. How many college kids do you hear of who go through 1, 2, 3 years of college and they have no idea what they're, where they're headed, what direction they're going. And that makes it so stressful. If you're thinking about it ahead of time, and maybe not the exact field, but your interests, right? So like we have our daughter who, she knows she's not going to be in a medical field. That's not her calling. She's going to be in a people field. And at least identifying that narrows the scope. Then we don't have to be heavy on the science, because it's not her thing. She is not going to use that in the future. And so that is not a good use of time. And when you can identify that at the beginning of high school, you still need, we followed our state's graduation requirements. And so my kids are taking the classes that any public school kid would, but we're tailoring them to their interests and what is going to be most useful based on kind of the direction they're headed. And that does not mean that all my kids know exactly where they're going, but we know where their strengths are. If you know the basic direction and then you tailor it down as they get further into high school, and it works really well.
Looking back, what role would you say CHC has played in helping your family stay centered on their faith during your homeschool journey?
Having a Catholic curriculum was super important to us. I want the faith to be ingrained in our children, not just a thing they do on Sundays or a thing that crosses their mind when life is hard. We wanted their faith to be a part of their whole life, every aspect. And when it's in the curriculum, it just makes it more natural. Gosh, the spelling words are Catholic words, and the grammar lessons, are all centered on Catholic ideas. The history, of course, is fantastic with really the Catholic focus. We loved that part of the history. And even the literature recommendations, not necessarily Catholic, but always really good, solid, reliable literature. We loved the literature studies. Being Catholic, I think, just helps the kids with their foundation and learning how to work their faith into every part of their life. And that's what we want for them as they grow up. And so starting with it in their educational curriculum has made a big difference for us.
I love that. Is there anything else you would like to share about your CHC experience so far?
I asked some of my girls if there was anything in particular that they will always remember, about this curriculum or whatever. And they were pretty much in agreement that the literature in the early years, we call them the Super Greg stories, but that's not what they're called. I didn't even realize that they were written, especially for this curriculum. I just didn't understand that until recently. But those stories were so good for us. My kids reread them. They're long past that reading level, and they still love the stories. They really just hit home for them. The innocence and the humor, they still enjoy it. And it was the right reading level for one of my daughters who thought that she didn't like reading. Those stories pulled her in. Those books, they touch on issues that are really important, but they do it in a soft way that teaches the lesson and still entertains the child. And we love that. So that has been really meaningful for us.
Angie, this has been great. Thank you so much for meeting today.
I appreciate the chance to talk about it. The curriculum has meant a lot to our family.